Dr. Jazz.
Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Jazz.
Oh, my pleasure. This is always a great opportunities for artists like me to have a chance to keep expanding our horizon.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, and I've spoken to so many guys you played with, and it's like kind of putting it all together now. So, but I'll just jump in. You know, I've listened to your music for such a long time. Like, you know, when you started to make your albums as a band leader, and I listened to the last one, Duo, and it's so beautiful because it's so intimate and kind of fitted perfect, you know, during the times of the pandemic and everything. It was kind of after the pandemic, at least. And but like, what was the story? I mean, I wanted to ask you especially about the players, why you chose those players exactly, and what does the duo setting mean for you?
I mean, let me start with the idea, you know, from my first album, I have duos,
Yeah.
you know, very like one little like bing spark there
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
So obviously it's been part of my intention. And then the pandemic came and I felt like, and in general, I feel like there's so much noise and I wanted something intimate, something of two people, like a conversation, you know, not any arrangement, but yet pick songs. I mean, obviously I have charge and guidance, but I wanted like a conversation, like when you put a topic of a conversation and people start, you know, reacting towards that. And I wanted also to bring this people to my world, the way I grew up with songs that I've listened. This is a selection group of songs that I believe is much bigger than that I believe is, I call them the Latin American standards. Sure. Some of them been passed through generations. Some of them even been sung by people like Nat King Cole, etc., etc. Many of the composers were female composers. And then why I picked the people or I invite, and I had the honor to have the people that I had. My intention, first of all, was to have people that could be there in person.
Yeah.
I did not want this thing of somebody records in LA or in Paris and then they send me the track, which I'm not saying this to say is less pretty or good. Than it was just my intention of that intimacy of being in the same room with this person and bringing them, this amazing musicians, to my world, to this music, you know. And then also comes the part of who are the people that accepted to do this. And the result is beautifully a group of people that I admire, that I love tremendously, that I have nothing but respect, and they have been inspiration through my music life, you know, in different ways. Some of them like Christian McBride is a dear friend of mine, you know. Sure. Fred Hersch, it's the first time that I really, you know, connect with him, but I've been a fan of his music for years, you know. Maestro Kenny Barron, I've known him. I've had the luck or blessed to have shared many times festivals, a club, you know. I've known him for years, and I mean, he's Kenny Barron.
Oh man, yeah, that's
we
don't even have to say anything. Yeah.
You know, so the last part, but the most important part, is the people that I call and they answer and they say yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we were there in East Side Sound, somewhere in the lower Manhattan, Chinatown, recording this album that I felt for me it was also more like a documentary per se, because to take this on tour is like,
no, yeah.
Come on. Maybe I will be able to do one time something like this, but it will require a big production, etc.
That's a big one, yeah.
But I used the opportunity of what in many ways mean to me a recording is like a photography, like a film and a movie, like writing a letter, you know, it is an expression of that moment, you know. And with this people, you know, and I film it. It's taken me longer because as an independent, I'm small, the budgets are small. But I filmed this too. So slowly I'm putting together all this also document because I really,
that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, I really feel between the pandemic, you know, between the pandemic, being a woman, being a single mom, the things that I've been going through, healing myself through some situations, the pandemic, and then have this chance to document these people recording and me singing songs that you know, some of those songs, I know them since I was, I don't know, you know, 10, you know.
Yeah. No, it's a really, it's like you said, it's so intimate, you know, because it's just two people. And I mean, I love the piano versions, but my favorite is with Regina, because it's like violin and voice, and that's like, are you kidding me? You know, it's so rare to hear that. It's I don't know any vocal violin duo, actually. Maybe there are, but
I think even she, when I invite her, you know, she's a dear friend too. I think even she probably thought a little bit like, what? You know, but she trusted me and we worked together, and the result is that beautiful piece, you know.
Yeah. No, it's so beautiful. Like, you know, the violin, the voice, it's really, you should do like an entire set, just that. It's like,
yeah, that would be amazing. But it would be a big challenge too, you know, like
to make it interesting.
Yeah. You know, in general, the duos, you know, is a lot of work, you know, to think about it, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you never
definitely.
know.
No, you never know, sure. But I wanted to ask you, you know, you said you wanted to invite these people into your world, and you come from Chile, and you know, like what happened for you when you were a teenager, I guess, that you decided to go into jazz? I mean, when was that? Do you remember like a specific moment or a record that you heard? Or
I do. I think all of us have moments in our life, some good, some not so good, that we compartmentalize in memories, and we can literally almost transport ourselves to that feeling, you know.
Yeah.
And I have a few of them. I think I fell in love with jazz before I even knew it was a music called jazz or anything. I was too young to make the difference, and my parents were never people that went to concerts or, you know, took us to the Philharmonic or anything like that. Very traditional, middle class, Latin American, where it's always music, you know, but not necessarily full on music supporters or musicians. But at the time, the TV was very controlled by the dictatorship. And one thing that my mom loved, and they show a lot, were American musicals. And there was people like Duke Ellington, like Louis Armstrong, Frank Sinatra, Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, you know, and I was completely attracted to all that music, you know, all those Jim Kelly, Fred Astaire movies were all that era of music, you know, and I was just like glued to that. But it took me, I think, when I was 14, and I was very curious, and I was singing anything that you could think I could find. The choir, the folk group, it's like, you name it. I was like going there, you know? And somehow I met this older people. In Chile, I always hang out with older people. And even when I first moved to New York, I felt more comfortable with the elderlies, you know? Someone said, oh, you like the blues, you like jazz. And I was like, what? And that person gave me my first CD or whatever, you know, of Errol Garner. I still have it. And then I bought the Sarah Vaughan album, and I was just like, all of the sudden, a whole universe opened, and I started consciously looking for, and these people were feeding me because they were jazz lovers, blues lovers, you know. And I have other older friends who love rock, you know, and I start all of a sudden, I'm like listening to Errol Garner and Billie Holiday and Coltrane and Dizzy Gillespie and Led Zeppelin and Earth, Wind and Fire. And I'm just like, I felt like my whole world was turned upside down, you know?
Yeah. These are spectacular moments. I love these. I remember mine was hearing Pat Metheny Group for the first time. And I was like, wow.
Oh my God.
What was that?
I discovered him. He was like I know some of those records inside out. I'll sing those like from beginning to end. And Chile loved Pat Metheny. Is like, he was like a rock star.
Yeah. We live close to Italy, so you know, my first Pat Metheny concert was in Italy, and I'll never forget, like, fans were 1 hour before. It was like 10,000 people in a hall, and they were singing the melodies, you know, of the album. So I was like, yeah, exactly. I was like, what's going on? You know, I have goosebumps now. I was just like,
yeah, me too. I think about that, and I think of the power of music, and as an adult now and a mom, you know, and everything that is going on, I wish we have more moments like that where we collectively can vibrate in that level and send that out to the world as well, you know. It's like
music is for this a really beautiful thing, because it's just, it gives you something that it's hard to describe, actually. So it's like something, I don't know what it is, but
it's magic.
Yeah, but you mentioned Pat Metheny was a hero in Chile. Like, did you have like many artists coming to Santiago, I guess, like from the States also back then? Or?
Well, yeah, you know, it was a time, even I figured as I got into the jazz world in Chile, I got to meet some really jazz lovers. And I even found out that before the dictatorship, Bill Evans was in Santiago.
Really?
And Sarah Vaughan was there.
Wow.
And the people showed me some pictures because they went to their home after to hang out, you know, and I was like, you know, and it was a period that, I mean, Chile, to be in Argentina at the time, you know, I guess it was, people used to go there, you know, they'll go to Brazil, Chile, Argentina, and one of those people was Pat Metheny, you know, they went to Chile, and it was thousands and thousands of people. It was like a rock concert. I didn't go, I was too young and I was not allowed, you know, and I didn't have the money also, but you know, you hear people talking, and then you see the footage or something, you know, and then I got a chance to see him in Italy too, you know, Perugia.
Oh yeah, sure.
And North Sea, you know, and it's just like, wow, man.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, these guys, it's just, and he's still doing it. Like,
oh my God, he's one of my favorite musicians in the world, and
incredible guy.
One of my inspiration, you know. I have many, but he's one of them, you know. I still listen to some of his records, and I still feel like if it's the first time I'm listening to, you know. I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. Yeah. That's a nice one. Yeah. Like, how did you decide to come to New York or to the States? What was the trigger? I mean, what made you decide to do that, actually?
As I got into the jazz world in Santiago, I moved from Concepcion, the south of Chile, where I was, you know, I finished high school and disguised my parents, and I got into the college, the music college, where they only teach classical music. But it was a way for like stop having my parents telling me no, and kind of like, I'm in college, you know. And I had quickly gotten the scene, quote unquote, in Chile. And my dream was to come to New York and go to a music school since I was in high school, because they're Play Fame, and it was a performing arts school. And I was like, why we don't have that in here, you know, like things, you know. And then college was my next step. So one day I just sold everything, make the decision, bought a ticket, and I came to New York. And with the dream to study, I didn't speak English
Oh, wow. Okay.
much. You know, I was 20 and I did audition. I got really good auditions, but I couldn't afford it.
Sure.
And I didn't know about scholarships or anything. And the teachers who tried to help me could only get me half of a scholarship for 1 year. And the rest, I couldn't find it anywhere. In Chile at the time was no support for that whatsoever. I didn't have the revenues, you know. So I came back with a tourist visa to say, I can't, you know. So that one of the teachers said, okay, you're going to do it the old way. Here's a list of all the jam sessions. And here's the workshop of Barry Harris.
Oh, wow.
And I start going to Barry Harris. I start being mentored by Harry Whitaker. I got a gig as a dishwasher and co-check later at the Blue Note. So I could see a lot of people, especially at that time, that so many of our heroes were still alive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I didn't have to pay for it. And I got a chance to meet some of these people. And I was sitting at the jam sessions. And then Abby Lincoln sort of like, you know, protect me. And I became friends with Diane Reeve. Stanley Turrentine was like always, you know, encourage me, and then Smalls and Jason Lindner, Avishai Cohen and Jeff Ballard and Brad Melder, you know, and things start happening. But that's my motivation, and my dream originally was to study. I never thought in my mind at the time, I never thought I was going to have quote unquote a career. I didn't even know what being signed by a label was.
Sure.
Like completely ignorant about anything. I was just living in those old movies that I used to watch in the 80s back home of 1930s New York, you know, and all I wanted was to study and stay up all night going from club to club, you know. And I keep hearing stories, and all that came a reality, you know.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, like you mentioned Avishai. I think it's on Adama is the first time I heard you. And how did you connect with him? I mean, he seemed to be quite important for your musical start.
Well, I mean, he's as important as I was for him, as we are all for each other. We're all around the same age. And we came as a very strong generation of people from all over the world. David Sanchez, Brad Meldau, Jeff Ballard, Avishai Cohen, Jason Lindner, and I can name 20 at least people that we all were really like living at Smalls. And at the time you had Zinc Bar and Sweet Basil and Visiones, and it was jam sessions, and you would go hear Elvin John, and then you'll go to a jam session and Tony Bennett will show up and sing, or George Benson. Like,
that's crazy. Yeah.
And we became this generation of musicians that will live for music. And shortly I start sitting in with people, and they start playing with me, and then they start calling me to sing with them. Avishai started forming his group, and he called me to sing in his group, as I was doing in other people as another instrument, not much of lyrics. And they were also doing my gigs, and we became, all of us, strong collaborators. We were all feeding each other. The difference is that I became a band leader, and as things progress with my career, they have a lot of visibility, and they're amazing musicians. And it happened what happened. Then Chick Corea took them, and I, you know, And all these beautiful things start happening to all of them. And Avishai started really early, doing, even before I put my first record, he already have done his first record where many of us were in that, you know, Jason, Jeff, you know, like, and we all now solo artists, you know?
Exactly.
And so, and we all came so hungry to learn and to explore New York and play, and oh, look, have you listened to this? No, I haven't. Have you listened to this? Like, I remember like completely nerds what they were saying here, like listening, did you listen to this? Let's try this. I mean, I think we were very, very lucky to have arrived in that time, because also masters playing and being so present in the scene, you know?
Yeah. No, you mentioned you started band leading. When did that happen for you? When did you start leading bands in New York?
I don't really know, because again, you know, all these concepts that I'm using right now, I didn't really integrate them quite. So yeah, maybe I arrived here in 94. By 96, I was already having a band and leading gigs and things, you know, quote unquote leading.
Was it hard for you in the beginning?
Such a awkward,
I mean, like
concept. Yeah,
but
very
like hard. To become a band leader,
very
I mean, like
hard, because I didn't speak English.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no, because as I started playing around in jam session and being part of different groups, I earned the respect of the musicians. So then as I call them to participate in my project, and they, again, you know, we're all so hungry, and we had that disposition that if you were called to do music, you were like, yeah. Sure. And at the same time, I was being part of their groups, or they have seen me with a group of so and so, and when I was sitting in jam sessions, they would like how I approached the music. So it was difficult in the sense that I think people believe more in me than what I believe in myself. So I was very encouraged by my mentors, but also very supported by my band mates, you know? I mean, it was just wonderful for a female to, which at the time, we were not that many, to be honest, you know? Sure. Right now, we have a lot of very amazing female band leaders, musicians, you know. At the time, we were not that many. And from South America, what? From where? Chile? Oh, you guys make chili? No, we don't. The country is called Chile, but we don't make
No,
chili.
come on. Did that ever happen? No, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on.
That would be a completely different interview. That would be a completely different interview. The amount of things that I've heard in my life.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Crazy. Okay. But speaking of band leading, I wanted to ask you, how did Wind from the South happen? And because it's such a strong debut, it's, you know, the band is killing, the tunes, everything. Like, what's the story behind that record? And it's on Verve, after all, also. And, you know, so it's like...
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I got signed by Verve. Hello. You know, I mean, funny story, when they came to one gig at Sweet Basil at the time to officially, you know, I thought it was a joke. And I literally laughed on the face of the guy that it was signing me. Like for real. Like, it's...
yeah, I believe you. Yeah, sure. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, I was already... This happened like 98, you know, we recorded this in 99 and it came out in 2000. So I was already having all these years of playing around town, you know, with different musicians, with different groups. I was having already my own gigs. So this was already a concept very strong that I also had from before I moved here.
Yeah.
When I saw Dizzy Gillespie with that band that he called the United Nation, and he had musicians from so many places, and he embraced so much the Afro-Cuban music. When I saw him doing that, I was like, if he's doing that, I'm going to bring my roots to this music, and I'm never going to forget who I am, because I'm not going to try to be the next, impossible, but I use all those influence and elements because they're the master. Like I study the tradition. I know the tradition, I didn't skip it. But because of that, it gave me even strong will to do what I did and went from the South. Like I remember showing Jeff like the cueca. And then also, again, I'm a band leader who also believes that I put a theme, but I want the people that I play with, I always play with them because I want what they have to say. And also that's the beauty of jazz.
Sure.
It's a constant conversation. And if you connect correctly and in the right vibration, you're consistently creating. Even when you have an arrangement, something can happen. And if everybody is there, the song takes a completely different route. So I had a very strong concept, and I wanted these people to play. I wanted my band. I wanted Harry Whitaker. I want to give him that recognition. We record one of his songs, and then I did 2 duets, one with him and then one with Avishai. And I'm very proud of that. And it was a very strong debut. And I think people didn't even know what to do with me because I think, especially at the time, was very strong this concept of Latin jazz, like it's either Cuban music or Brazilian.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I come from Chile with all this rhythmic things, and and I think people didn't know quite how to take me. Some people said I was all over the place, but it's who I am.
Yeah, sure. No, but you also wrote lyrics, have been writing lyrics and your own music. Like when did that begin? Since you didn't study, actually, you said you wanted to study jazz, right? But you still know how to write.
That has been always happening. I've always create. I'm very creative, and I'm always creating melodies and writing things. But again, I felt very insecure and shy about that because everybody around me have gone to school, conservatories, college, and all that, and I didn't. And thanks to my mentor, Harry Whitaker, and believe it or not, a conversation with Pat Metheny, and a few other musicians, they really encouraged me and told me about musicians that never read or wrote music. And I was like, what? So-and-so, so-and-so. And I was like, and once again, my world was like, what? And I start finding tools with what I have. I have an ear. I will close my eyes and find ways or record melodies. And I became the self-talk, quote unquote, and whatever I could grab, I still do not write music. I do know more music, but I think my ears and my way have settled so strong that even if I learn properly, I don't think I would trust that because I trust more this other way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Makes sense.
Harry Whitaker really, really pushed me. Like he will push me, like, you need to do your own arrangement. Don't be shy. I'm never gonna forget Jeff Ballard once. I felt like I didn't know how to count this song. And Jeff said, dance it, Claudia, dance it, move, dance it, and I'll see it. And I start using those tools, and people, and they're all encouraged me to use my tools. And it's like, you're the band leader. We're here to support you in this and help you create this. And again, I took off, they gave me almost like the okay to be myself. And ever since that, I've been just doing, what I can to learn, obviously, continue growing as much as I can. But yeah. And I'm writing more and more, and I'm having the courage to just show my stuff, and I look forward doing that more as I get older. I think is a level of confidence, quote unquote. I don't give a shit what people think, in a good way, respectfully.
Yeah, I mean, you have your own voice now and your own story already, so it's different, yeah.
And I think that's what is unique also about how I approach the music,
Yeah.
I think it has made me who I am, for good or bad,
Yeah. What's your process when you write down stuff, your ideas, or like, how does this go actually?
Depend. I mean, technology is playing a strong role and is helping a lot, Sorry. Because from an iPhone that I can be walking and just record things, melodies more quicker than the tape recording that I used to have, or then the digital thing, to things that you go on GarageBand. And obviously I've gotten more confident with just sitting in the keyboard and finding chords and trusting that what I hear is what I want to hear. And I picked the ukulele and the guitar, and it could be anything, or sometimes just percussion, and because what I feel is a strong groove with a very strong lyrics. And then I develop, and then I'd usually get together with one musician that I'm collaborating at the time, or someone that I feel comfortable with, to sort of frame this whole thing,
Yeah.
Sometimes my ideas are really strong and clear. Sometimes it's one thing that I develop with a collaborator. And I think I love that work too. I love how you can have an idea and sometimes it might not be so developed, and collaborating with somebody else that knows you can, or that you may not even know much, but you have a musical connection, can develop something. Or the way around, I might have a really strong idea and the other person is just there to help me to frame it, per se.
Put it together.
But I found for the first time a lot of freedom of it, and I'm not apologizing anymore. It took me a long time to accept that and not compare myself with people that went to Berkeley or the New School or the Manhattan School of Music, blah blah blah.
Yeah. What's you mentioned dancing and rhythm, and your music is very rhythmical. And even when I listen to, when you collaborate, let's say, with David Gilmore and his highly complex music, like where does your affinity for where does your affinity for rhythm come from, and how did you learn to become so comfortable with it? I mean, at least it seems you're very comfortable with it. So
I don't know. I think it's something that people were born with, you just kind of wired like that, because my parents and family that knows me since I was born, they're like, you will hear music and it's like, and like start dancing and singing. It feels very natural. It moves me, so I guess it just comes naturally, and it has become a strong tool as well. And I feel the music in certain ways,
Yeah.
And music is supposed to make you move, even if you listen to,
How did you cope, with like David's music, Gilmore's? How did that go? That with his highly complex stuff, to be comfortable there. I mean,
when he called me and I started listening to it, and I was like, "Are you sure you want me to sing?" But again, you know, I use my ears. I could read some of the stuff with help, but I trust more my ears, and I listen, and I get very focused. And it's funny because I learn my part, and usually I start learning other people's lines, because I guess it's a way for me to locate myself where I need to come in. And I'm very insecure sometimes with projects like that, because I feel like I'm not really reading, you know. I rely on other people to, you know, to kind of guide me. I learn their lines so I know when I need to come. But that was a hard project for everybody, I think.
Oh man.
But it's beautiful music.
Oh, it's killing, but it's just like you know, I know David. I mean, I've spoken to him as well, and it's just like, you know, coming from the Steve Coleman school, and it's just, but he pushed it even further within his realm, and it's crazy. Yeah, beautiful, but beautiful at the same time.
And for him to call me is such an honor, you know. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's well done. It's
very nice.
It's beautiful, and to be part of that project with also all of them, you know, wow.
Yeah.
For me, it's like just amazing, you know. It's an honor.
But Claudia, I wanted to ask you, you know, we mentioned Wind from the South, and then the next one was like Rhythm of Life. And I mean, the first one, it kind of, you know, with Avishai and Jeff, with the people basically you played with for 5 or even more years. But then on that one, you have like Thane on drums and Dave Holland. And how was that like for you? I mean, must have been crazy to be with those guys in the same room. How did that happen, actually?
That was a very ambitious, that was a very, very ambitious project. I've always wanted to work with string, and I was introduced to Billy Child by Diane.
Yeah.
And quickly, I had this project in mind, and he became the partner, you know, in crime with that. And I wanted to do something very poetic, you know, and almost epic, you know. And Billy understood that, and he was very moved by the selection of music. And around the same time that I was forming my group, people like Thane did, for example, a few gigs of mine. One of my first gig as a leader was him on drums, Kenny on piano, and Dwayne Burnall.
Oh my God,
bass.
really?
Wow. I mean, it's no register of that, unfortunately, but people were friends, and I felt like, even though I know he's not going to be in my band, because at the time he was playing with Branford and all that, I want to document playing with these people. And I heard Thane in those, and I'm a huge fan of Dave Holland, and he accepted. And Luisito Quintero, we have played in other projects, and he's one of my favorite percussionist musician, you know. And again, I wanted to blend these two worlds, the South American, you know, with all this other stuff, and then some more, you know. And Billy did those arrangements, and Jason did one too, and it was, you know. And after that, I got dropped by Verve.
It was too much, yeah. Yeah, no, it's a beautiful album. I love both those two albums. It's like such a nice introduction of you into the scene, you know. It's just damn, really.
I'm proud of all my albums. Yeah. I'm proud of all my albums. I've been really connected to my creative part and the things that I want to say when I want to say it, the way I want to say it. Each song, even though I have not been the composer, they have a very specific reason why they're selected and why the rhythm is I could talk about each song from each record and tell you why I picked that song, why that rhythm, what I was feeling, you know. And I feel very proud of each of my albums. I don't regret anything.
Oh, they're killing albums. So it's like definitely there's no regret there. Shouldn't be. I mean, yeah,
Thank you.
it's fantastic stuff. Like, I wanted to ask you also about. I listened to Radiant Moon today, which you did with Tom Harrell, and like, how did you end working with Tom?
Oh my
actually?
God.
I mean, he's one of
He
my
called me.
heroes, you know, like underrated players ever. But,
He's
yeah.
one of my, I don't know who suggested, I can't remember how that happened. When he called me or they called me, I was like, yes, of course, I would love to. You know, then he showed me this song.
Yeah.
And we play it live. I'm there, you know, it's no overdubbed, and you know, I'm like, it's just, in fact, you got me thinking. I've been really wanted to include that song in my repertoire to play with do a version with my band, because I a beautiful song, and he's an incredible musician, you know.
Yeah, he's such a composer. I mean, such a
I've been very lucky and blessed to.
Yeah. Do you have like a working group right now? Otherwise, you mentioned your band. I mean,
I'm sorry?
do you have like a working band right now?
Yeah, it's the same guys, more or less, that I've been working for the past 15 years, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you did duo the last album. I mean,
It's a trio, piano, bass, and drums.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Are you planning to record something new with those guys? I mean, with your band? Like, what are your plans for the next record?
Yeah, I'm working on, well, here's the thing. Something I should do duo number 2 because of all the people that I didn't chance to do with. And I should circle around, and the amount of songs, and it's almost like it feels like natural duo 1, duo 2 at least. And then there's this other idea of all these compositions that I've been working on, and this idea, quote unquote. And then is another idea of, I've never done a live album. And a lot of people have asked me, when are you going to do a live album? You know, like, so I don't know. I really don't know. I need to make up my mind. It seems like the logical would be to do a number 2, just, you know, to document another section of this Latin American standards, and have this handful of artists and musicians that I just would love to document this. So I need to make up my mind and put together the budget. Yeah,
that's a different story then. Yeah. That's where it's like the easiest is to write kind of music, and then like it's which should be the other way around somehow, I think. But anyway, but do you have otherwise some gigs planned or tours?
That's another conversation.
Yeah. Or coming to Europe?
Yeah, like, we've been, you know, this summer I did quite a few things there. I'm working on it because I haven't been in Europe for 10 years, you know, more than 10 years. Exactly 12. So I just did Newport Jazz Fest. I did NPR Tiny Desk.
I saw that. That's beautiful. Desk. That's beautiful.
I did Saratoga. Yeah. And I'm doing this week Dizzy's Club, a jazz at Lincoln Center. And I'm really working to try to get back into Europe, but it's not been easy, and is independent and self. I'm trying. I'll get there. Hopefully soon. I'll be back in Europe. It would be amazing.
Yeah, it's harder after COVID. I think it's many clubs promoters have, you know, still had canceled concerts that they had to do, and so now it's slowly kind of leveling. I think it's gonna be easier now. I hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
But cool. But cool, Claudia, I won't take more of your time. Just you know, that you'll have a nice what is today? Sunday afternoon.
Cool.
So, and thanks for sharing some of these thoughts. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh man, no, thank you for the opportunity. You know, all these things help. You know.